One of the most painful parts of a breakup isn't just the relationship ending, it's how quickly they seem to move on. New relationship, new life, new happiness. And you're left wondering how something that meant so much to you could be so easy for them to leave behind. If that hurt still sits in your chest, this video is for you. Why it feels so devastating when they move on fast. When someone moves on quickly, the pain isn't just lost, it's invalidation. It can feel like the relationship didn't matter, like you didn't matter. Your nervous system reads speed as truth, so the faster they move, the more your body asks, was it ever real? That question alone can keep you stuck for months. What moving on fast actually means. When you see someone moving on quickly, like they're over you, they don't care anymore, they're having the time of their life, the assumption is often that they've healed. But moving on fast doesn't automatically mean emotional resolution. In many cases, it means the opposite. For emotionally unavailable or narcissistic people, being alone can feel deeply uncomfortable. Not because they miss the relationship, because they don't tolerate emotional emptiness well. Instead of sitting with loss, reflection or discomfort, they look for something external to regulate how they feel. So they'll carry on with the new connection, the attention, as a distraction. This isn't healing, it's avoidance. Pain is internally, it's managed externally. So when they move on quickly, it doesn't mean that the relationship was meaningless. It means the emotional discomfort was avoided. And avoidance can look a lot like and time passes by. So, why emotionally unavailable people do this more often? Emotionally unavailable people struggle with inner discomfort. They don't like facing the consequences of their actions. They don't like to be the bad one who's hurt somebody. Silence feels unbearable to them. They don't want to be on their own. So they will fill the space quickly. Not because they're healed, because they're uncomfortable. Connection becomes a coping mechanism, not a reflection of depth. Why it hurts more for the person left behind. If you process emotions internally, you grieve differently. You sit with your feelings, you reflect, you interpret. So when someone you see moves on quickly, it can feel like you're failing, when in reality you're healing. Pain that is felt is pain that's moving. So you're actually moving through the healing process, even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes. Why it doesn't mean you were replaceable. Being replaced doesn't mean you were interchangeable. It means the other person couldn't tolerate the emptiness. Depth cannot be replaced, avoidance can. What you offered wasn't disposable. It was demanding emotions, and they weren't prepared to handle that. They weren't prepared to face the consequences of their own actions. Sometimes it's just easier for them to go off and pretend everything's a bed of roses and they're living a happier life and you meant nothing, than actually take some responsibility and face the problems head on and sit down and have that discussion, because it would make them too uncomfortable. Why comparison makes healing harder? Watching them move on can trap you in comparison. But you're comparing inner work to outer performance. Those aren't the same thing. What looks like happiness may be distraction, and what feels like pain maybe progress. It could just all be a front because they don't want to face the reality of the hurt that they've caused. They don't want to feel bad for hurting you. They want to avoid it at all costs. This is not a reflection on you. Reframing the narrative safely. The goal isn't to understand them perfectly. It's to stop measuring your healing against their behaviour. Your timeline is not failure. It's evidence of emotional honesty. If you're hurting because they moved on quickly, that pain makes sense. You didn't love wrongly, you loved deeply. And that depth takes time to release. You're allowed to heal at your own pace. So ignore what everybody else is doing, who's saying what, when and why. That's not your concern now. Your main concern is healing your way, in your time, and ignoring the noise, or ignoring the silent treatment. Everyone heals differently, and you can take as long as you like. There is no rush.